Okay, welcome everybody to
fancy intro music.
I don't need fancy music. So welcome to our monthly live stream with the Thought Leisure Brand Club. And every month we take on topics specifically around the Thought Leisure Brand journey, whether it's around mindset or personal branding or content, or building meaningful relationships, or business marketing and sales. And today I have two amazing friends, colleagues, LinkedIn family, whatever you want to call it, but they're awesome people I've seen and followed for years. I can't tell how many years it's been, but happy to have you guys here. So let's just quickly start with introductions. Ariel, please, let's start with introductions.
Sure. So I am Ariel Lee. If you don't know me, I would love to connect with anybody watching this stream. Liam and Bobby and I think started hanging out when Clubhouse got big or launched at the very beginning of 2021. So that's sort of how we all connected. But then obviously over the years, just shared love of all things LinkedIn. So I'm just excited to be here having this discussion. Thanks for everybody that's in the comments. Definitely say hi. So I see Therese and Christy, Sebastian, and Ricklin. Thank you guys for being here.
Go ahead, Liam.
I'm Liam Darmody. I am very excited to be here chatting. This is like, I'm reminiscing. I'm having all sorts of feels about the old school Clubhouse days. Congratulations to you, Bobby, for continuing to do all of this. It's really impressive. I think, we were having so much fun on Clubhouse back in the day, and it was hard for us to keep it going beyond 5 months. And you've been going for years. So that's impressive. I'm excited to chat. And yeah, my background, I basically spent 18 years in technology companies, sort of a Swiss Army knife of sorts. And I recently decided to go out on my own and create a brand consultancy. And so I'm in the process of building that out, and we'll be going live with it in a couple of weeks. And I'm excited to be here and talk a little bit more about that and just reconnect with y'all.
I'm super excited for you, Liam. Like that's, having been an entrepreneur for 18 years, which is part of my intro. I've been a professional speaker for 18 years, traveled around the world, did 1,000 keynotes, workshops across 4 continents. I'm a 5-time TEDx speaker and Inc. Magazine top 1 leadership speaker. But, Clubhouse was the place where we all met. And yes, I founded the Thought Leisure Brand Club in the Clubhouse, and that was great. But eventually I started transitioning out of Clubhouse. I mean, we still have people who run rooms.
Most people did.
No, and that's fine. I mean, I have people who run rooms that had great success there, and that's great. I think that, and again, even when we talk about other platforms, well, people have to understand, people say, oh, I only do this one, I only do this one. But the truth is, people can build a business and have a great digital presence content strategy in lots of places. And so I'm very grateful that we built up Thought Leisure Brand Club to basically help people focus on multiple platforms and multiple business strategies to help them get to that next level. That's kind of what we focus on. So let's get right into the beginning here, and I'm going to start with open-ended to either one of you. But the first thing I want to talk about actually is I'm a big believer in multi-platform digital presence. I'd like to hear your thoughts on that.
Ariel, you go first.
So my thoughts are probably a little bit skewed because I am not able to utilize any platform for business other than LinkedIn for compliance reasons. And so I really try to be very intentional about the time that I spend on those. Like I don't, I believe that social media can be impactful and be done for an intentional reason. But for me, all the others, TikTok, Instagram, Threads, Facebook to a certain extent, those are just for fun for me. And so I have to be careful about the time that I spend there. I also have had a unique experience having grown a LinkedIn presence to be a decent size, and then being like, oh, well, let's see what's going on TikTok. It's humbling and a little frustrating to be used to having, great engagement, great conversations, a very large community. And then you start from scratch as a small fry somewhere else. And it's like, it is hard to get the motivation to keep going. So what about you, Liam?
Yeah, I think I am of the mindset that you should spend time where you're comfortable. And so for me, I typically feel like I have a face for radio. That's my opinion. Nobody's told me that necessarily, but that's my line. And so TikTok doesn't really come naturally to me. I'm not a big video person. I've been told I should be doing more of it, but I'm just not. It doesn't come super natural to me, or I don't necessarily feel super comfortable just like sitting here with like a phone in front of my face talking into it. And yet I'm going to try to do more, right? Because I think it's useful to do it if you can. But so for me, it has largely been time on LinkedIn, time on Twitter, and now going in pretty heavy into Threads because I feel early Twitter vibes there, and I missed the early Twitter vibes. Bobby was on that train early on. I was 22 at the time and didn't really understand what like social media was. I didn't really understand what the power or the potential of having an audience was online. So I didn't really jump into that, and I'm not making that mistake again. So I'm currently just sort of toggling between Threads and LinkedIn the most right now. But ultimately, I say do what you feel comfortable doing, because that's what you're going to excel at the most.
I mean, I typically say that, you know, it's good to have a place at your base, right? And so for me, LinkedIn is my base. And before LinkedIn, actually, Twitter and Facebook were my bases, but then LinkedIn became my base, and so that's fine. My feeling is that, you know, the reason why you expand is because you diversify your network and you have hooks to bring people into the main place, which is your base. And also sometimes certain platforms work better than others. I mean, I take the Gary Vaynerchuk approach, which is to taste everything and see how it goes. So over the years, I taste everything. And the reason why Twitter took off to the 500,000 that I have now is because it took off first compared before anything else did. And so I just kind of rode that. And this is like, and it led to all the things I'm doing now. I mean, just so you know, I'm in a hotel room because I'm on the other side of the coast because I'm doing a gig. And part of it's because I have influence, and that is because of building multi-platform stuff. And then the other thing I'll say is that when it comes to multi-platform stuff, I taste everything, and then the ones that seem to go great, the ones that do, like Clubhouse, I saw the potential. I was like, this is really good, and I was able to build something from it, including a business as well as getting a lot of clients. And then Snapchat, I was like, this is okay. I'm not going to do this, and like there's ones that I let go. And when I saw what Threads was doing, and because of the Twitter chaos, I was like, okay, this is going to be a legit platform. I think it's going to be good. I'm going to invest at least this summer. So what I've done is I've allocated just time this summer. I'm still doing LinkedIn, of course, but I'm allocating time to really see what I can build on this platform just for the summer. And then at that point, I'll make a decision of how it integrates into my strategy. Your content strategy will evolve as it goes. So, which brings me to my next question. How do you what exactly is your content strategy, Liam? I mean, how do you figure out what you want to say or do?
My content strategy is not overthinking my content strategy. I am very much I wake up in the morning, I have something that's on my mind, I post about it, and that's kind of been how I've gone about it. If I don't, I spend some time just perusing LinkedIn, and somehow I'll get inspiration, and then I'll just post something then. Now that I'm starting my own consultancy, I'm probably going to have to be a little bit more focused and sort of on target. So I'll probably end up doing a couple posts a week that are really geared towards my target audience, which is tech executives. And so I'm probably going to be focusing a little bit more on that, but then, I'll be on Threads, and that's where you'll sort of get the rest of me. Right. And so my thing is like LinkedIn is kind of my place for one thoughtful thought a day, and a bunch of comments, because the engagement in the comments is where it's at. And then, Threads will sort of be where I put the other 99 thoughts a day. And those people that want to find out more about what it's like to be a hamster in my head will go hang out there and see what that's like. And it'll be a little bit more of a personal vibe. So that's kind of my approach. I've never really overthought it. But I realize that I'm in somewhat of a unique position because I've always done it as sort of a hobby rather than doing it as a business. Right. And so I think I'll have a different potential answer for you a year from now. We'll see what's up.
Before Ariel speaks, I want to share one little tip that is, when it comes to my Twitter strategy, every time I'm on LinkedIn, I make a comment and usually try to be thoughtful, that turns into a tweet. So I automatically tweet that. So you could do the same thing with Threads. I think that putting a thoughtful comment about business or life or whatever it might be, and that those comments turn into really, really good tweets. Just a thought there.
Nice. I love it.
Ariel, what do you think?
No, I love that idea. And I To be honest, I giggled to myself a little bit when I saw because you initially just asked me and Liam, and then when I saw the concept for the live and it was talking about content strategy, I was like, oh, that's going to be an interesting conversation, because Liam and I approach it very similarly in that we don't overthink it. It's very, like I used to say, flying by the seat of my pants kind of. Everything is not overthought, basically. And I tell people when I am talking to them about how to approach LinkedIn that the more time you spend here, or really any platform, the easier it will be to figure out how to turn those kind of everyday situations into ideas for posts. Because as you see other people do it, you learn and grow and develop those muscles that way. I have a rule, like if I'm writing a post and it takes me longer than 5 minutes to write it, I just either scrap the idea or put it back on the shelf for another time, because I feel like if I'm struggling with how to say it, my folks are going to struggle with reading it, and it's not going to resonate the same way that I think it should. So, but I want to acknowledge, Tanya said Liam's making me feel, I'm assuming she says bad, it's cut off a little bit, about how she's been addressing LinkedIn. So that's a personal choice. If you're somebody whose comfort zone exists in having 30 days of content pre-planned and pre-written, and then you can just hit the launch button, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It just,
100%.
the way my personality works, it's better to be more off the cuff in the moment. And I have a list of ideas that's a mile long of things that, okay, in the moment I thought this would be a good idea, and I just never come back to flesh them out. So that's kind of, that's how
Well,
I do.
and I will be very honest. One of the reasons why I invited the two of you to this one is because I'm also very much off the cuff. I just, whatever shows up in my head or that I want to talk about, I don't actually have. The only things I have plans on is, well, I have a weekly link to my room, so I have to post about that. Like, but other than that, like, my son went away to this program on his own for the first time, so I turned that into post. Like, let me talk about this because this is kind of interesting to me, and so I will talk about that. And so I've always been. I have ideas that I want to share, like, but generally speaking, whatever is in my head or heart, I just post about it. The only thing is that for me, LinkedIn is limiting because I have hundreds of thoughts per day. That's why I still love Twitter, because that's where I would randomly put stuff, and Threads now has that for people. So I think that's been really good for me. And the only other thing I'll say from a content strategy perspective is, I'm very big on making sure you have a clear idea of your personal brand, your target audience, who they are, and by doing so, you can create content that caters to them. And so the other thing I'll say is 80-20 rule for me, which is 80% of my content, I try to make it for my target audience. The other 20% is more creative, experimental, whatever I want to talk about. That one time I did a carousel post is because I was like, let me try a carousel post, see what happens. It's not my forte, right? But so I gotta try it. I'll just try this out, see what happens, and that's fine. I mean, it works, doesn't work. I tried one of those GIF posts. It was terrible. I was like, how does Joel get these amazing GIFs? Mine was terrible. Like, I kept using Star Trek ones, and nothing happened, nothing gelled, and so.
Can I say something to that?
Yeah.
Because you're not Joel. So that's I tell people all the time, like, just because you see me use emojis in a LinkedIn post, that doesn't mean like, oh, well, I'll be successful if I use emojis. Your personal brand should just be figuring out how to dig deep and show up the same way you show up in real life on the internet. It shouldn't be some sort of contrived, like, oh, other people do GIFs good, so I'm going to go and try that. It's worth experimenting, but if it's not your sense of humor or who you are, don't try to force yourself into boxes that you see other people hanging out in. I'm not saying that you did that at all, Bobby, just for everybody listening. Like, if you see other people having success with stuff that doesn't resonate with you or feel authentic to you, then maybe that's okay. So that's my 2 cents on that.
Yeah. And I think the thing that I've sort of learned in the 3.5 years since I've been more intentional about putting myself out on social platforms, and LinkedIn specifically, is because I didn't have necessarily a target audience to sort of create for, because I wasn't doing it for business development purposes. My focus has always been on just showing up and being me, and then trusting that, my target audience will find me, right? Because they like who I am and they like how I think. And that is how I've developed my following and kind of my personal brand. And like I said, that might evolve and change a little bit in terms of my strategy going forward. But by and large, that is my strategy, is just be who you are and share your thoughts. And the people that appreciate those will find you. And when they do, you'll start to become, known for having certain opinions about certain things, and you'll network with people and you'll build relationships. And my line lately is that LinkedIn is not a social media platform, it's a serendipity manifestation platform, which is a mouthful, but it's also very true, right? I mean, I've had a tremendous amount of opportunity come my way, simply because I just started talking about what's in my head, and that is a powerful thing. I think a lot of people underestimate the value of what's going on in between their ears.
It's interesting you bring up this idea that there's the entrepreneur or business owner experience, and there's the person who has the corporate career, because I think a person with a corporate career has probably a little more flexibility to talk about whatever they want or whatever they feel like, because no pressure to try to focus on a brand and acquire tech clients and things like that.
Sure.
One of the things I can share from a content strategy perspective is that it's different as an entrepreneur in terms of what I talk about, because it's sometimes frustrating, because when I'm trying to make sales and build business, get clients, but every time I do a post on selling my services, it just tanks, doesn't do well. So so that's been a very challenging thing, particularly on LinkedIn and other platforms. So I have to change the strategy, where it's okay, let me just share knowledge, let me just build relationships, let me get personalized stuff with people across platforms, LinkedIn, Twitter, Threads, Instagram, you name it. And then once they build that likability and trust with me, and they see the expertise that I share, then eventually I'm able to convert that into a potential call. But that's something that's been a challenge, I'd say, from the entrepreneur selling their services side. So I'm not sure how you're going to shift your strategy, Liam.
I mean, I think one of the things for me that's sort of an advantage is that I've spent 15 years in revenue operations, right? So I've spent so much time at companies teaching salespeople, how to sort of think and how to position and how to strategize. And on the social selling side, things are evolving and changing, right? It's the old school model, right? Which is sort of go to market and, develop a bunch of leads and, hit those leads up and make sure you're touching them once every month or once every week and whatever. Like that model is not necessarily the only model you have to follow anymore. You can follow the more social selling model, which is really along the lines of you have less control over it, right? Because you aren't just putting stuff out necessarily and taking actions that you can directly attribute ROI to. But people will find you and they'll like what you say, and then all of a sudden one day it'll just click and they'll be like, what do they do? Where do they work? Like, does this person look like somebody I want to partner with? Like, let's take this conversation to the next level, and I'll slide into the DMs and they'll say, hey, I'd love to learn more about what you do, right? And that is the law of attraction, right? And I think that is kind of going to be my approach, generally speaking.
100. I could not agree more. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with the term drip campaign.
Yep.
But I have always said, like, in sales, if you talk to a prospect and they're not ready to move forward right then, you might schedule them for your newsletter monthly or send them a card at the holidays, whatever. You're making sure that people don't forget who you are, what you do, and where they can find you when they need you. And I think that LinkedIn, if your people, or other social media probably works similar to this, but I think LinkedIn does it in a really unique way, where if you're active and your prospects are active, and you're not even just producing content, but your comments on other people's content are putting your name, your headline, and your picture in front of the people that you want to work with all day, every day. And so that's why, I always, content is super important, but your headline I stole this from John Espirian. I don't know if you're still listening, but years and years ago, I heard you say that it should be interesting, intriguing, and informative. So enough of a carrot to tell a little bit about what you do, but make somebody want to click into your profile to learn more about you. And that headline shows up every single comment you leave, every single piece of content you put out. And so you're just dripping in a very unobtrusive way. And I think that it's magical.
And I want to just say this is the live stream for the Thought Leader Brand Club, and we're talking about enhancing digital presence and content strategy. We have lots of amazing people in the feed and comments that sharing comments. But I'm seeing questions now, which is great. I want to talk a bit about TLB Club. So basically, it's now a membership community, kind of like the other ones you see, like Espresso Plus, and there's membership communities for lots of things, whether you're building on LinkedIn or whether you're building sales and marketing or for coaches or authors. Our focus is to help you build your thought leadership brand. So we help you focus on personal branding, mindset, confidence, building relationships, digital content strategy, and speaking and storytelling and things like that. And so we have a community where we have a private LinkedIn group. We have weekly calls and mindset calls and coaching. We have all the replays and transcripts given to people. And my goal is really to help people go from a personal brand and elevate to a thought leadership brand so they can get the TED Talks, the digital revenue, the book deals, the media appearances, and whatever it is they want to have. So if you're interested in being part of the TLB Club, we have founding members now. So we actually look for 100 founding members. We now have about 45, I think. And so if you want to be one of the 100 founding members, you can lock in your price forever. And then there you go. And that's all the selling I'm going to do in this moment. Because the question is, Bobby, have you seen different outcomes when you post about your services directly on other platforms? Yeah, absolutely. I have seen this because, so I'll give a perfect example. On Twitter, I shared a I shared a video about, have you ever wanted to get a TEDx talk? And if you want to get a TEDx talk, I can guarantee you one, book a call with me. And I got 17 people message me. I booked about 10 calls and I got clients from that straight up. Now, when I do that on LinkedIn, I get nothing. So, but people who know me for a long time will say, hey, I saw you post that. Oh, I'm thinking about it. And so that's where the longer game piece works. But, from that one, it worked directly. Similarly, on Clubhouse, I'm a big fan of social audio rooms. I do Twitter Spaces. I do the odd Clubhouse room. And then, of course, I do LinkedIn audio. But on a Twitter Space or a Clubhouse room, I would actually mention that I'm running some sort of workshop and people would buy right away. So that to me is something that has worked really well. Social audio is really special that way because there's trust built so quickly that when you mention you're doing something, people will reach out with a DM right away, because I think there's such a intimate connection there. So I think that's worked really, really well for me. So that's kind of been my take on that. I mean, Instagram is a little bit different as well. And, now we're doing threads too. So there's the question. I think there's another question. Just give me a second. I have to look for it. There was a question and I don't know where it is. So meanwhile, here it is. Here's the question. Okay. And I'll maybe let Ariel see if you want to talk about this one first.
Sure.
So go ahead.
That is super aligned with what I am lucky enough to get to navigate every day. I kind of straddle the line between entrepreneur and corporate employee because I do have rules and regulations to follow. So it when you say might not be approved, I would argue that you're probably overthinking it. My rules are I cannot engage with or obviously post on things that have swear words, right? So that's right off the gate. So I think that if you keep it pretty generally clean and you're just sharing about your life and who you are, and I don't see any reason in the world why a company would not respect that. Now, if you're working for somewhere that doesn't allow you to use your voice at all, I would maybe consider looking elsewhere. But I know that that's extreme. But yeah, it shouldn't, not being approved. If you're not talking about work, they should not be able to control what you can and can't say. So I have very specific things that I am allowed to post or say if it is work related. But if I'm just talking about whatever random thing floats across my brain that morning, it's not on them to approve or deny it. So hopefully everybody else's situation is similar to that.
I think I just want to add to that. And Kevin's a good buddy of mine. We actually went to college together. Thanks for hanging out, Kevin. It's good to see you. Thoughtful question, not a surprise. I think there's a couple things here. One is I just want to commend Ariel because Ariel has built a phenomenal brand without talking much about what she does or who for, right? And that is very hard, right? You're here to develop business, but you're not talking about what you do and who you do it for. Incredible, right? I think she walks that line really, really well. I think the other thing that's really important for me when I talk to companies about this type of stuff, it is, it's baffling to me that companies are like, oh, well, if they start creating content online and they might get recruited and then they might leave and blah, 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 blah. It's like, okay, take a step back for a second. You've hired them to work with other employees at the organization. You trust that they're going to do that okay. They probably work with clients or customers. You trust that they're going to do that okay and manage that in a professional environment. But you don't trust that they can post on LinkedIn and like not say something stupid that's going to get you in trouble. Like that's just illogical to me. And to follow up on that, if you're that paranoid about your employees getting recruited and leaving, first of all, people are getting recruited all the time. You have to build a culture that makes them not want to leave. And if you are paranoid that them creating content on LinkedIn will get them more noticed by other companies and other recruiters who will pull them away, you can't control that because it's happening already. You have to give them a culture that makes them want to stay. That is the most important thing. So focus on the right thing, which is building a culture that people don't want to leave, and then you don't have to worry about it. And then you can take advantage of the fact that they're creating content that will resonate with other people and have a flywheel network effect. And then your company gets to benefit from the marketing of that, right? It's much better to do it that way than to be paranoid that they're going to bounce, right? And from an employment standpoint, you know, I will never work for a company that tries to muffle what I say, because it's just, to me, it's an antiquated way of thinking.
I mean, as much as I spend time teaching individuals to have a content strategy, teaching companies to empower their employees and help them become brand ambassadors for the organization, that to me, it's in their best interest to do that. And a lot of companies are just so scared about doing so. And I think it's such a great opportunity for them to have people that, you know, train them and have them be these great ambassadors of the brand of the company as a great place to work. So I think that's really, really important.
Yeah. And I mean, I think like, and it's more than just like, hey, go share the quarterly revenue results and earnings and our new press release and all that. Forget that. Go show people who you are and how you think and why you're great at what you do and why we hired you. That is what we want to see, right? And that's what attracts talent. It's what attracts new business. It's what builds relationships amongst people. I see Eric Rousey in our comment thread. I used to work with him at WillowTree. I mean, he and I never actually worked in the same office or on a project together. We just knew each other through LinkedIn, right? LinkedIn was connecting people at the same company and building a relationship. That's powerful. That's really powerful. And WillowTree was only a 1,000 person company, right? I mean, talk about a 20,000 person company or 50,000 person company. There's a lot of threading that can happen. Threading, yeah. See what I did there? There's a lot of threading that can happen if you just let people go and show themselves and encourage them to be who they are.
Yep. And we have another question coming up here. I'm going to put it up here on the screen. I work at an Amazon marketing agency for Amazon brand sellers and provide edutainment on LinkedIn. I like to pull Amazon product images from brands that I want to work with and make posts on how they can improve. I do not like to sell. I give value. And wait, I guess you can't see the question because it's too long. Let me finish that at the end of it here, which is, I give value. How can I scale this long term? That's the question.
I don't know for sure that I'm understanding what he means by like to pull Amazon product images from brands and make posts on how they can improve. If it's the way that I'm reading it, it almost sounds like public shaming, and I might have suggest another approach. Like if you're screenshotting something they're doing badly and saying, hey, this sucks, you should do it my way. Maybe try something different. But and I will argue for everybody to not just, you'll burn out if you're so focused on, and you're asking about how you can scale it long term. If you are so hyper focused on value is subjective. So posting content that's fun or intriguing or interesting or about things that you geek out on, right? Like I'm a Harry Potter nerd. That has nothing to do with what I do for a living, but it would magnet other people who are similarly interested to me and make them potentially interested in working with me. So I'm a big fan of letting people see inside who you are, and not just hammering businessy stuff all day, every day, because that will get boring for your audience and you, and it won't be sustainable long term, in my opinion.
Liam, any thoughts on this one?
Not really. I think for me, even if you're just doing it in not a public shaming way, it's just like, this is what I think could be better. you've got to be careful with that approach, right? Because you have to have a really good, strong brand and a strong presence in the marketplace to be able to pull something like that off. I think it's an interesting approach, but it has to be executed flawlessly. And I think that is something that, is unique to a specific people. Like, you can do that. Some people can really do that well. I'm probably not one of them. I don't think.
Jim Lorraine used to do it really well he's a copywriter, and he would do product rewrites, but it was for such a, it would be for companies like Microsoft, right? That aren't going to take it personally. So anyway, I don't know the specifics of the.
Yeah, no, I think that's fine. I think to me, my general take would be like, what are you doing to build relationships, right? So it's fine and dandy to talk about the products and do that type of stuff, but what are you doing to build relationships to get people's attention? And I think that will work a lot better long term to build and scale whatever it is you're trying to do. So that's my general take. Speaking of building relationships, I want to now, again, if anyone asks any questions, you totally can ask questions. We love having you here. Make sure you follow Liam, follow Ariel across the socials. This is I'm happy to have you here. I'm really grateful. I would love to get and if you have questions, put them in the chats, guys, so I can see them. But I want to ask you again, Threads is a very hot topic right now. They got 100 million users in 5 days, which is the fastest thing that has happened. I mean, obviously they have a base to use, which is certainly a little bit of a cheat. So it's not like ChatGPT getting 100 million users in 2 months. But I wanted to get your thoughts and takes on the platform and how it's going.
Who first? I've been living on Threads for 5 days.
He's living.
I've developed. I've got like 560 followers, which I've calculated is about 5 times the pace of followers that I've earned on LinkedIn in 3.5 years. So that's, obviously I don't know that will continue to scale at that pace, but it is impressive. I think the other thing is you have to give credit where credit is due. 100 million followers or 100 million signups in 5 days without the app going down once is tremendous, right? From a technical standpoint, that is a huge feat. Their network engineering team must just be like mainlining espresso right now. And I think that is a sign of sort of the skill that we're talking about. These are professionals. I see people talking about like, oh, well, if Threads doesn't do this, it's going to go the way of Clubhouse. Hang on a second, right? These are not like just some startup dudes that were like, right time, right place. We have this cool new feature. This is Facebook, right? They have the most data and the most advanced algorithms in the world. They know what they're doing, right? And I think the thing that's interesting about Threads is that it's almost like they're taking all of their experience with all these different systems, right? They have Facebook, they have Instagram, they have WhatsApp, they have Messenger. Like they see how human beings interact online, and they're able to kind of put this all together into this new app that just happened to hit at the right time because a lot of people are leaving Twitter, right? And they don't like what's happening over there. And so I think that they are absolutely onto something. I think the vibes are fantastic there right now. I think if they can maintain that and prevent, trolls from making it just this, vitriolic cesspool that some other places have become, I think they'll do really, really well. And I think if you are the type of person who enjoys creating text-based content and images, you need to be there. You have to be there, and you should be there and right now and doing it. I mean, not right now, keep watching this, but like, go hang out there for a little bit every day.
Yeah. Well, or take a picture and share it on Threads.
Yeah.
Right? You can totally do that. You can totally do that. I mean, someone mentioned, is it a cheat or a strategy? Well, no, what I meant by cheat was when you look at the things that get adoption, like whether it's Candy Crush or ChatGPT, it starts from scratch and they build up. So that's what I meant by that. But, the truth is, it's a fantastic strategy because, I mean, Facebook or Meta, whatever, they took Snapchat stories, threw it on Instagram, and created that whole thing, which has gone very well for them. They saw the thing with the YouTube Shorts and and TikTok, and now we have the Reel systems, the Reels on Instagram that are there. So taking what was happening in Twitter, which was a lot of chaos, and again, I'm as a huge Twitter user, it's very, very upsetting how much debacle is. I don't think Twitter's dead. I think Twitter is changing, and it'll still be there's lots to do there, but there's another platform that's doing it the same thing just as well. And every single platform that starts, you can get a lot of users pretty quickly if you're an early mover. That's happened for me on Clubhouse. It's happened for me on Twitter. And of course, when Threads came, yes, I'm all in because I want to see what I can build pretty quickly. So, I spent 4 hours on it over 4 days and got 1,000 followers. So you just build it up and you can build it up and you can do it. What I will say is that, and again, I love what Gary Vaynerchuk said, which is it's not Twitter or Threads, it's Twitter and Threads. So where do you want to spend your time? Am I still spending time on Twitter? Of course I am, because I get business on there. I run Twitter Spaces. I have a huge network. Of course I'm going to use that and leverage it. But yes, and I'm going to be using Threads to build it up, see what's there. Eventually, over a long period of time, yeah, the toxic and the other stuff is going to seep in. The spam, it just is. Every platform has that. Yep. Eventually on Clubhouse, people are sending me spammy DMs for, hi, like I'm selling this. And I mean, it's going to happen on Threads too. I mean, Threads doesn't have a DM system, but they probably will, I would say. But, for me, it's exciting because you have the opportunity to curate your culture, to create the connections you want, the community you want. And that to me is what makes it very, very exciting.
And I think
Ariel,
I noticed Therese asked a question. I hope I'm saying your name properly. I'm sorry if I'm not, but she said, how do you get people to respond to your threads? I only get replies when I reply on other people's threads. And I would just make sure that you're focusing on conversational tone. And it seems like the vibe on Threads right now is very silly, very lighthearted, not a lot of value, not a lot of sales. So if you've been focusing on sticking to your brand as you are on LinkedIn, that may be a misstep just in these early days. Let it be very personality driven. Let it be very casual and off the cuff. I was joking with a friend last night at the wine bar. I said, my threads will become slightly less unhinged or more hinged the more people that I know in real life that join, right? If my husband and my kid gets on there, like fun time's over. But right now it's very casual. It's very off the cuff. And so I would encourage you to approach it that way to get the engagement. I also want to mention, I keep seeing a LinkedIn user pop up. And so just wanting to be like helpful LinkedIn nerd, that doesn't mean somebody here has you blocked. What that means is there's a space in your privacy settings where your profile is not visible to people you're not connected to. So it doesn't share through on LinkedIn Live. So that's why it's saying LinkedIn user, just in case you're looking at that, like what's going on. So anyway, 2 cents there.
Pro tips, always. Love it.
Yeah, Liam, what do you think? You're getting some. How's the engagement going for you? Like, are you getting replies or what's going on?
Yeah, I think I'm getting. I mean, single digits, right? It's not
Yeah.
double digit responses necessarily. A lot more likes than replies. I think when you are leaving comments on larger profile pages or larger accounts, you're seeing a lot more response to that. So that's a strategy that I'm employing is, following people that have built large followings quickly on that platform and are producing tons of content. Leaving thoughtful comments there is a useful way to go about it. I think, over time it will continue to grow and it will continue to evolve. I think you just have to, I think everybody is just drinking from a fire hose right now. It's almost like they're just like, well, on to the next one, right? And so I think that's why you're seeing a lot more of the likes versus the conversation component. But I think that will certainly evolve as the platform matures a little bit. Some of the hype maybe dies down a little bit. I think right now you've got a lot of people that are just doing everything they can to build as much of a following as quickly as possible, which is to be expected on any new social platform, especially one that, I think people are bullish will have longevity. And so I, again, just employ the same approach that I employ in other platforms, which is just be yourself and trust that the folks that will find you or the folks that want to be get to know you better will start following you and will start engaging with you, and don't overthink it too much.
Yeah.
And I think Ariel made the best comment, which is, it's a little bit of a different platform. People are having more fun. Yep. So you have to be mindful of that, of the culture. Like every platform has a culture, right? So you have to be mindful of that culture. And so you need to intersperse. I mean, you can still put value posts. There's people on there who are talking about fitness and talking about sales and they're consistently doing that, but they're also throwing in the funny stuff and they're throwing in the interesting things. So I've been adding obviously more jokes and funny observations on the platform than I normally would. Those are things I typically do on Twitter. So that's something that I'm able to leverage for this platform.
Yeah.
There's a question from Christy. Threads are missing many popular features. Hashtag searchability. Are you missing these features? Well, I mean, generally speaking, I would say that I'm not missing them per se, but every platform will eventually have these things. That's just like I remember on Clubhouse didn't have DMs, and I was like, why are you bringing DMs? But some people want them, so I get it. And so I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
I mean, so from my perspective, I think they need to figure out, first of all, it's been 5 days, y'all. Like they just launched an application that signed up 100 million people in a 5-day span. They're not going to get everything right. I think it was a beta internally, which is a tech speak for, essentially something that's not finished yet, right? It's in the earliest phases, and they're still sort of doing research on how the users are engaging with it. Clearly, they've gotten a ton of response, and it's plenty to go through. So I think it's important to bear that in mind, right? There's a lot of people that I see out there that are kind of like, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this. Like, chill, right? Like it'll come. They know what they're doing. I think the thing that for me needs to happen sooner than later is having like a For You following feed or a feed that's just dedicated to people that I'm following, because I think right now I'm seeing a lot of big accounts, a lot of accounts that I'm not necessarily following and not necessarily interested in following, right? There's a lot of like, the Kardashians and stuff, like nothing against Kim Kardashian, but like I don't necessarily jive with stuff she's putting out. So I think that is something they need to figure out. I think hashtags would help with that, but I think that that's kind of, to me, like hashtags are a little bit brute force and a little bit simplistic, right? Like you're Facebook, like you should be able to figure this out, especially with artificial intelligence being what it is right now. And then lastly is I think the DM component. I just don't think we need DMs there, man. Like I literally feel like we have Facebook Messenger, we have WhatsApp, we have Instagram Messenger. Like there's so many messengers. Leave me alone. Like don't message me, reply to my thread, and let's have a conversation there out in the open. I think the other benefit to that is that you mitigate the risk of all of the spam and all of the like hacky kind of nefarious things that tend to happen on a platform like that. I personally, I know that there are benefits of having a direct message system, but I think there's just so many of them already. I mean, between LinkedIn and WhatsApp and Instagram and Messenger, like we got it covered. I don't know that we necessarily need that right now. I think if you kept it pure and everybody was just focused on the feed, that would be a phenomenal place to hang out.
Yeah.
Before we get to the question that I had posted below here is, I like that a common question from people is always, now one more app, where do I spend my time? I'm feeling overwhelmed. I mean, Ariel, what do you say to people with that? Because obviously, some people, I mean, I could try to be everywhere because I spend way too much time on it, but most people cannot. So like, what would you say to people, who are, I don't know what to try, where to go and where to spend my time?
I would say go where you enjoy it, because that's where you'll be the most successful. So if you, wherever, and I guess it's bad business advice to go where you're comfortable, right? Like all the good things happen just outside your comfort zone, except on social media. You should stay where you're having a good time. But I just feel like it takes a lot of effort to engage consistently with, creating your presence. And I think that if it's not something that fills up your cup, you're not going to stick to it. And so it's fine to kind of dip your toe in every different water and see what resonates with you. My Threads bio literally says, come hang out with me on LinkedIn. I don't think I'm going to be able to keep up here. And it's just not. Like right now, my content is very unhinged and I'm posting every random thought that pops into my head. I'm having fun with it. But long term, again, because I can't use it for a business use case. So I think I just saw Alicia mention like it's difficult with a new platform to track that ROI, to look at the metrics and see, is your time spent fulfilling a larger purpose? For me, the time that I'm spending there fulfills the purpose of just needing that human connection in those conversations. And I'm down with that, even if it doesn't necessarily translate to business or dollars. But yeah, I think that you just have to be very in tune with what you are enjoying so that it doesn't become forced, because if it's forced, it won't be fun and it will not resonate with your people. So.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I think everyone has to figure out, well, my general thing is what is your objective with social media? And then how much time do you got? And whatever time you have, that's how you decide where you want to spend your time. Where's your target audience? Where they like, so if you're like, my objective is I want to build a brand so that people might hire me to speak, then, and I have 5 hours a week and I'm in, I don't know, financial investments, then I would say allocate your time on mostly on LinkedIn and then a little bit on Twitter, because that's where you can get people's attention with that type of content. 4 hours a week on LinkedIn, and maybe 1 hour where you're sharing comments on Twitter, and that's about it. But I mean, that's a very small amount. So you have to decide based on how much time you got.
Right. Absolutely.
There's a question below. My silly meme type posts on LinkedIn get far more engagement than those with actual value. What's with that?
Human
So,
nature, right? Sucks.
yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I think there is recently there's been a lot of talk about this. Dan Roth, the editor-in-chief of LinkedIn, went on entrepreneur.com's podcast and talked to the editor-in-chief of Entrepreneur pretty extensively about the algorithm and what they're focused on. And one of the things that he said that I think was the most interesting was we do not encourage people to go viral on a LinkedIn platform. We do not consider that to be a good thing. So when that does happen, we kind of sort of investigate it and try and understand why, which is very interesting to me. And they are shifting from a model where I think, for a long period of time, they probably did give a lot of boost to memes and things like that. But they're going to be trying, I think, to rope it back in a little bit. And we're seeing people complain a lot about on the platform about reach, right? Impressions are down, engagement is up, I've found, actually, which is an interesting dichotomy. And I think you want to be putting out that value, but if you can do the value with the meme, right? Like that's actually the benefit of the both. That's the best of both worlds, right? If you can make somebody laugh or make somebody smile and deliver value to them, that is like the golden nugget, right? And it's something that I think takes a lot of time to perfect and to get right. But make it your own. And if you can do it right, you can do it right. I think we are going to start seeing that the silly meme type posts are probably going to become deprioritized, I would imagine, based on what I've read and what I've heard in some of the networks of folks that I know are power users.
I mean, at the end of the day, people getting entertained is really a part of what people love. People love to laugh. People love to be entertained. And so, like, even when Joel Alci does his funny gifs, and then but he has a post of value. I mean, that's gold,
Yeah.
right? So I think that there's a reason why this stuff works, and that's fine. Like, what? Don't get so worried about it. Just learn what works for you and your audience, and do what you think is best. I think that's an important piece. Okay, well, we've been here 45 minutes. I'm not sure how much longer time you guys have, so I'll try to close this really soon. But I did want to answer one thing, which is the whole thing about the DMs thing. Like when I was on Clubhouse, I was so against DMs. Like, why are we doing DMs? Just get in rooms and have conversations. And so all you people who are saying no DM, doing DMs, fun fact: every platform eventually gets DMs. So let's just. I know we're saying we don't want it. It's going to happen. I would bet my life on it. Every platform will have DMs. So that's just the way it is. And that's okay. We vent about it in the moment, but eventually it comes back and then people are like, okay, now they're DMing each other. So just want to make that point. The other thing I want to share and maybe talk to you guys about too is one of the big things about digital presence and content strategy is I believe that we are on rented land. And so it's very important for us to have something that we're building outside of LinkedIn or Threads or Twitter, what it might be. So, building an email list, building a community like I'm doing with Thought Leadership Brand Club. These are things that are really important to do. I just want to hear your thoughts on that.
Go ahead, Ariel.
I'm the worst because I don't maintain any kind of email list or anything like that. But what I do is I take conversations offline pretty frequently. So if I have a Zoom with somebody, I have their email. I don't utilize it much, but I do have it. I am in probably 5 Slack communities that I call LinkedIn adjacent. Like they're people and groups that I only know because of LinkedIn, but I do have alternate ways to hang out with them. And then again, just sort of getting as many people as possible that I like conversating with to hop on other platforms so that they can see and experience different things. I mean, if you go to TikTok, you'll get to see me walking my dog and enjoying the weather, like super random stuff. And so I think just by having those connections in as many places as possible, that's kind of my my thought process on it. But yeah, it does. I wish I was more intentional about making sure that I maintained contacts elsewhere, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah, you go ahead.
I would say I'm sort of in the same boat as Ariel, because I've not been as focused on building my personal brand as like I've just kind of been me being me, right? And like I've not necessarily worried too much about how do I monetize that, and what does that look like 3 years from now, and now I'm going to start thinking about that more. So I'm exploring Beehive to create a newsletter, and I'm thinking about, do I create a community of some sort and all that kind of stuff. I think those are things that make a lot of sense. If once you've gotten to a point where you've built a following and you have sort of an engaged following on a social platform, then thinking of ways to take that offline makes a lot of sense. And so I will be taking a look at that. I certainly will have I will certainly have a newsletter for sure. I don't know about the community component yet. That's a lot of work. And I think, obviously, Bobby, that. So, yeah, I want to make sure the worst thing I could do in that capacity is create one and then sort of have it just fall by the wayside. But I mean, I think there's a lot of stuff that, I talked about a lot of stuff on LinkedIn when I didn't necessarily have to focus on it for my income, right? So I'll probably be doing less about, some of the crypto and Web3 stuff now, even though that's a passion of mine. I'll be talking a lot more about it on Threads, and I'll probably talk about it offline with people and in communities.
But you don't think those conversations would appeal to the tech execs that you're trying to build relationships and connect with?
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, I feel like that's very in your niche.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I'm still figuring out my niche. I do want to
I literally only said niche in case
that's nice.
Still watching.
niche.
In case Leah is still watching.
I do want to say one thing about the DMs on the Clubhouse component. The difference between Clubhouse and a lot of these other platforms is that it was ephemeral and it was voice related, right? So you didn't have a place to sort of say, I love what you just said. Let's start a conversation about that in text. On a text platform, that's different, right? You do have the ability to do that. I'm not denying that there will be a DM functionality on Threads. I think that is inevitable. But I don't necessarily think it's necessary. And that I think is important.
Listen, guys, I appreciate your time. You want to tell us what you're working on these days? Like anything interesting you want to share, or pitch, or promote? Like, I'd love to hear. Like, what's going on?
Ariel,
you, Liam. I got nothing. I just come hang out with me on social media. I can't talk about what I do for a living on video, but I would love to connect with anybody out there so we can have conversations elsewhere. I don't mind DMs as long as they're not like creepy and say more than hello. I posted about that this week actually. It's weird. So say something more than hello and we can have all the conversations you want. It's all you, Liam.
I love it. Yeah, no. So I mean, I like I mentioned earlier in the conversation, I'm launching my own brand consultancy. I will be focusing on helping tech executives build their brand on LinkedIn. I will be focusing on helping employers, tech companies, activate their employer advocacy programs and employer brands, and then I will also be doing some one-on-one conversations with folks. That'll be an option if somebody wants to just pick my brain. And actually, I don't like pick my brain, bend my ear. I don't know, something like that. And actually, one of the things that I was thinking I'm going to do is Bobby, you and I have talked about, being like active and exercising. One of my planned conversations is going to be a walk and talk. So the cheapest offering I will have will be, a lunch walk and talk. And we'll both go out for a walk and talk, and we don't have to do video, and like that. That'll be good for all of us. If you're going to help me exercise, I'm going to make it cheaper for you to talk to me. So that's kind of one of the plans. But yeah, I'm in the process of like, I've got my brand identified. I'm, putting the website together, all that good stuff. And I should be out the gate in a couple weeks.
And let me just say to Liam, if you ever want to chat about stuff, and including entrepreneurship and whatever, like I'm happy to share knowledge. And,
Yeah, it'd be great.
And that's also what I'm doing. You know, John Experience said, "Good luck if you start a community, you won't sleep." So, you know, the Thoughtless Brand Club is now a big part of what I'm doing. Like aside from speaking and aside from coaching, now the community is a big part of my time. We have a LinkedIn group. I'm helping people with their programs, their offerings, their branding, their coaching, their sales and marketing, their mindset. Like there's questions about a whole bunch of things on every part of the journey, wherever they are. And so it's taking up a lot of my time. I'm probably committing about 20 hours a week right now to building this community. And the more members we get, I assume there'll be more time spent on my end, or I might have to, hire people. But if you want to be part of the Thoughtless Brand Club and be part of the founding members, by all means, please, you get access to amazing people, amazing speakers. We have actually Richard Moore speaking this Friday at our weekly Zoom calls. Our Zoom calls are free to the public. So if you want to get to the call and just share and meet people and talk, we allow people up to come up to 3 times, and you're welcome to take advantage of that. So DM me anytime and let me know. And in the meantime, Threads is the place to be. So follow me there and engage in conversations. And with that, I want to thank Ariel and Liam for being part of this conversation. It's been a really, really great time. I do admire both of you. I think because I feel very similar to you, like the way you guys talk and the way you guys, I write like I speak, and I talk like I speak, and it's very random stuff. And I mean, sometimes I take the time for a very thoughtful post, like there's one I did. I haven't done LinkedIn yet, but I did on Facebook, which is about my son getting a flip phone, and I turned into a whole, here's why smartphones are bad for teens, because it's such an important topic to me. So I take the time for those things. But I do really appreciate the way you guys talk and walk and talk.
Great idea.
If I have to pay for it.
I love it.
Right back at you, Bobby. Thank you so much for your time. It's been awesome to be on this. This is the first LinkedIn Live that I've done, or first live stream that I've done since becoming self-employed. So thank you for that, and I'm excited about having more of them. So thank you for chatting with me, and I probably will reach out just to get some thoughts on things here and there about entrepreneurship and whatnot.
Awesome.
Yeah, walk and talk, baby. I'll walk with you.
Let's do it.
Thanks everyone for being in the comments. Super, super great audience today. So
fantastic.
Yeah, and ask more questions. This replay will be available on LinkedIn, so you can look at it, ask more questions, and tag us. All right, guys, have yourself a wonderful week. I'm actually doing a really cool project. I'm doing video training on LinkedIn with Goldie Chan, which is kind of exciting.
Awesome.
So I met her for the first time.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah. But I posted about it yesterday, and I'll share more details. Some of it's kind of secret, but that's why I'm here in beautiful Vancouver. So, anywho, see you guys later. Take care.
Bye.